Okay. I'm with David Adam. David, you retired in 2005, and since then, one of your major retirement activities has been working with some friends to set up a hotel in Roatan, which is off the Honduran
That's
coast.
right, it's off the north coast of Honduras.
And you've set up a hotel there for divers, and I think you've got 10 rooms, and it sounds like it would be a paradise for somebody who enjoys diving.
Well, it is. Roatan is the continuation of the reef that starts basically in Cozumel in Mexico, comes down the east coast of Yucatan, and passes in front of Belize, Guatemala, and then if you know the coast of Central America, the coast cuts east, so that Honduras, in fact, is a north coast rather than an east coast. Roatan is one of 6 islands off the coast called the Bay Islands in the Gulf of Honduras, in the Bay of Honduras. Going back a little bit, it's true I've been involved in this since the spring of 2005. The property was actually purchased in 2004 by a friend of mine, a Financial Times correspondent who was living in Lima at the time. And she got together a group of, I guess, 5 other people. She purchased the land outright by herself, and then looked around and realized that if she wished to develop it, she needed more capital. And she cast her net among her friends, and indeed her family, her sister was part of the group. And we began by basically having to learn something about the investment rules and regulations of Honduras itself. We hired a solicitor in Tegucigalpa, the capital, and we proceeded to step by step come to terms with environmental rules, foreign investment rules, transfer of capital, how to organize a corporation under the rules of the foreign investment law of Honduras. And that took us really until the spring of 2005 when I became in. So by the time I got in, most of the basic learning had been acquired. We then brought in an architect from Britain and a German environmental expert as such to give us some ideas about how to make a property that was attractive to tourists and was in keeping with the environmental rules of Honduras. As lax as they may be in terms of the implementation, they are basically the same kind of rules as you would find in Canada or the United States. We did our homework very well, and then we got our capital together, and we hired an architect, as I said, from Britain, and we hired a contractor from Honduras with specifications and so on. And the construction began in the spring of 2006, and it was finished by the 1st of March 2007 when we opened for business. So we in fact have been open for now approaching 13 months. It's a 10-room hotel. It's basically really a bed and breakfast. We don't have a full kitchen, and there are many reasons for that. Not least of which kitchens are notorious for bleeding money in terms of inventory control, theft, the costs of stainless steel equipment, and dental maintenance are very high.
You're becoming quite an expert on this stuff, David. But tell me, if you're sitting in the Ottawa cold in January or February, and you have little or no experience in diving, what would one do to end up in one of those 10 rooms down in the
Right. We have a website which is called www.cocolobo.com. Cocolobo is the Latin for sea grape.
So it's COCOLOBO.com.
And it has all of the information one could ever hope for, including links to various airlines in the United States, airlines in Canada, which will take you directly to Roatan without having to go through mainland Honduras. Very simple to get there. From Canada, it's a little complicated because there are no, unless you go on a Saturday, it requires you almost certainly to spend a night on the way, either in Houston to pick up the Continental flight, or Newark to pick up the Continental flight, or in Miami to pick up the TACA or the American Airlines flight. All this is very complicated. It's all explained on the website. Once you're there, the island is truly a diver's paradise, scuba and snorkeling. We have about 100 yards of frontage on the water, where our property is about, I suppose the buildings are about 30 yards from the water, but it's an iron shore. We don't have a beach on our property. The beach is around the corner, through the woods a bit, and about a 5-minute walk. Beautiful beach called Half Moon Bay. The diving is superb there, including right off our property, and many snorkelers and scuba divers, in fact, do dive off our property. It's a little tricky getting to it directly from our property because I say it's an iron shore with the coral and so on. But if you come around the corner, you can get to it very easily. Come around the water by boat or by swimming. Roatan is just in the throes of becoming a tax-exempt jurisdiction within Honduras. It's not clear when that will happen. It will give people like ourselves rights to bring in all kinds of things duty-free, and as long as we don't export them to the mainland, we don't have to pay duty on it. We've had, I would say, great success recognizing that in the first year of an operation of a small business like this, you're always going to have some negative cash flow in the first months. By the end of the first year, we were increasing our cash flow to the point where we think by July this year, July 2008, we will have a constant positive cash flow, which will allow us to either pay some dividends to shareholders or pay back a loan. We have a loan with a local Honduran bank. We didn't lever the property too much, but we have a lot of capital in it, which gives us some freedom from worrying about the bank calling in our loan and so on.
And you've got partners, so you can all
partners. That's right.
take up
And there are 6 of us, in fact, who are engaged in this. And they come from all over the world. We have a German who lives in Lima. We have a South African. We have 2 people who live in Delhi, in India. 2 people in London, and myself in Ottawa. So it's a group of people who've known each other over the last 35 or 40 years. And we're all more or less in the same age and the same circumstance. And I think everybody had their own idea why they wanted to do this. But basically it was to move away from the traditional means of investing, meaning the stock market or local real estate, and to find something that was a little different.
Yeah.
Whether it will ever be a great revenue-producing enterprise for us remains somewhat uncertain. But it's clear that the capital appreciation of the property has been significant since 2004. So we are all very pleased with that, needless to say.